Guaranteed to be 200% more interesting than Beto's introduction video. This is Corey, and this is the O The Anthem podcast.
I don't like to make promises I can't keep. Good afternoon, everybody. It's Rob. Welcome to episode 258 of the O The Anthem podcast. Yes, only 3 episodes away from the big 260. Are you as excited as I am?
Are you ready for some football?
Coming to you, as always, from the hashtag OTA LA studios, high above the 110 freeway in beautiful downtown Los Angeles, California. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you for subscribing on whatever podcatcher you choose to do so. Apple, Spotify, Pocket Casts, Google Podcasts, all of them appreciated. If there's a chance to rate and review in those said podcast platforms, please do so because it makes us happy.
Indeed. And of course, you can find more O The Anthem at O The Anthem on all your social medias, including Instagram and Twitter. If you're watching us live right now, you're doing so at facebook.com/O The Anthem. And of course, you can find everything O The Anthem at youtube.com/O The Anthem and OTheAnthem.com. Maybe a few surprises coming over on those 2 platforms as well.
Yeah, we've been tinkering with things.
A lot of things tinkering with. And friend of the show, Laura, joining us from very high above the 110 freeway.
On a 3,000 mile journey across the country.
Yes,
yeah.
Well, and it's a good place to start out as any. St. Patrick's Day this weekend, and wasn't that fun? Well, first of all, it was great to see Laura. Laura came into town to visit us.
Yes.
And the things we're saying now are because she's unfortunately already on her way home.
For the first time ever, by the way, I think that the rush hour LAX trip wasn't bad at all.
Yeah,
it's like the first time I ever said it was like, oh, it's so easy. It was smooth sailing the whole way.
Yeah. It's the secret of driving. It's also just the secret. When you mentally say it's going to be all right, you manifest that
it
it's
just
all
happens.
right.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So it was great seeing Laura this weekend. And she came in on Thursday, I want to say.
Yeah.
Yes. And got to celebrate. I realized while going back through my pictures, boy, do we have a lot of St. Pat's memories with Laura.
Yes.
Just multiple
all the
Facebook
times
accounts.
in Baltimore.
Yes, multiple Facebook accounts and multiple Google accounts, and I'm just like going through all the pictures. I'm like, oh yeah, Laura was here. Oh, yeah, Laura was here.
On this day. Just
yeah.
like a lot of Laura pictures.
Just a lot of Laura, yeah. All those times in Baltimore, different apartments, different places, and now here. And she was here 2 years ago as well.
Yes.
On St. Pat's. So that was nice. Then we celebrated St. Patrick's Day to some extent. Some of us more than others.
It was a much more demure St. Patrick's Day this year, I feel like, though.
Well, I mean, you guys didn't go like bar hopping. Which was,
didn't wake up at like 10 a.m. and start going crazy. It was like one location and then the after party.
Too old for that, though.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I was walking past Casey's and I was like, I have no interest.
That's why I kind of liked Limericks. I mean, like, it was busy enough that, like, you got the feeling of St. Patrick's Day, but it was also not so busy that we only waited half hour for a table. Yeah. We were able to sit there the whole time and eat Irish food and stuff like that, not have to worry about, like, I don't know, what line we were going to have to pay cash only for a meal or like.
And much like the Irish, we tried to get into a fight with the waitress and then... got platitudes from the manager, and then on home for some Mario Kart. That's pretty fantastic day.
Yeah. Just the way the Irish imagined.
Yes, that's exactly what they imagined. That's what St. Patrick imagined when he drew all the snakes out of Ireland.
One day, Americans will...
Everything he could hope for. Yeah. But no, it was a very good day and very calm. I think that was my favorite part. I know that the wobbleheads, as they got out of the bar, heard music playing across the street and did their little wobblehead business of, oh yeah, maybe we should go to that bar over there. I'm like, no, let's go get some liquor and go home. That sounds like a good plan to me.
Yeah.
And then I got into a fight during my sleeping hours because, Did
you get punched in the middle of your sleep too?
Only when there's been some heavy day drinking. It's not even punching. It's just like the part of the brain that turns off the body acting out the dreams. So it's not like a punch. It's just like, I'm running, I'm wobblehead dancing at the bar. Well, like I get all that. So.
What I get is from time to time, like Rachel will just start like slowly creeping her arm across the bed, like more and more into my territory, like just invading territory. And then eventually, like, I find myself at like 3 o'clock in the morning, like sort of bananing out of the way. But then somewhere in the middle of the night, usually around like 4:30 or so, like when I've just fallen asleep and I'm hitting my first like deep sleep cycle, is when it finally makes contact. And I think the feel of the contact makes her like drive it in. And then like when you're waking up with just like pressure on your back, you're just like, what the fuck is happening to me? Am I dying? And then you wake up and you're like, oh, Rachel's punching me.
Yes. Yeah. Slow motion punching.
And then I have to like wake her up and be like, go over there. Get to your corner. You're just like, what are you doing?
We all agree. And when I say we, I mean the men who were here yesterday, that there should be, one of the things we miss about the good old days is a husband or a boyfriend or a father's ability to say, you've had enough. Maybe we should call it a day.
You know what I think we should bring back? When I had bunk beds as a kid with my brother, there were like those little things that you put up so you couldn't fall out of the bunk bed.
Yes.
Like, I think that we should make beds with like, it feels like when it's all put down, it just feels like a normal mattress bed.
Right.
But then there's a part that you can pull up in the middle that creates like a little separator.
So, they have that bed.
Do they?
Okay, so there's a wonderful mattress that allows you, basically the mattress is like lines and rows, right? So like the great thing is you can stick your arm down in and let you like cuddle, right? And be around. But
without your arm falling asleep.
But one of the things that they allow is that they have the mod, and what it's supposed to be for is
like infants?
Infant sleeping. Yeah, where you put it on one side so that your body blocks one edge of the bed and then this thing blocks the other one. But the first time I saw
blocks you from rolling over on the baby.
Nobody rolls over on the baby. That's the old wives' tale. Like you'll feel the baby in bed.
I fear that.
Yeah, you'll always feel the baby in bed with you. It'll be the worst sleep you ever get, by the way. Never sleep in bed with a baby because they don't move, and then you just will wake up every 20 minutes like, is he breathing? What? Okay, good. Like, was there moving? No. Okay. But you'll just stay like this.
It's like when I have to wake up and pet Carly because she's having a nightmare.
Yes. Doesn't bark in real life, just only in internet. Such a badass. But no, so the first time I saw that, I was like, I wouldn't use that for an infant, but I would really like sometimes to just like put that in the middle and be like, half. All I ask for is half.
Just be like, you're in the penalty box tonight. Bam.
Because sometimes I wake up on that outer 5% of the bed and I'm like wrapped around.
8 hours for St. Patrick's Day drunken activities. Boom.
Yes. Sometimes you wake up on that 5% on the outside of the bed. Yeah. And it's not even a banana. It's like a snake where you've tried to make your body fit that little sliver of bed. Yeah. And you're hanging off and you're wrapped around. And I got a knee in my back and I got another leg wrapped around my leg. And I'm just like, this has been the most miserable 8 hours of sleep I've ever had. And then I wake up and go to work this morning. So that's basically how that happened. Anyway, so St. Pat's was fun. And this is the opening, if you will, of I think what we should really consider the Triple Crown.
Yes.
So every month of the spring has their own inebriation holiday, if you will. We celebrated your people, the Shamrock holding Irish. I don't know if you see Corey's forearm there. Have you ever pointed that out to people? Got a shamrock right there. Yep.
I don't know how well you can see it. It might be turning into the LA skyline.
I say nice flexing right there. And the 83 thing shield as well. But of course, St. Pat's March 17th, and then just a month away from now, a scant 33 days. It'll be April the 20th, which I don't think we've ever celebrated April the 20th. Maybe one time.
We did it on the podcast last year. So this is why you're bringing it up.
Yes, that's right. We did it last year because we were here already. I was trying to think.
Because it was recretional at this point. It was just like, all right, so
let's just do it. Yeah.
No worry about embargoing that information.
Yes, like let's pretend like things aren't happening here. And I'm looking forward. Actually, let's see. April the 20th. Is a Saturday.
Ooh.
So, I mean, technically
so we
speaking,
could do a Saturday record.
We could do it. We could have done it yesterday, but we decided to just
that wasn't going to work out well.
But, of course, then, coming up on May the 5th is our... Well, what's the... you always do one and I do the other. What do you call that show?
Drinko de Mayo?
Drinko de Mayo. Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody calls it Cinco de Drinko.
You do. You always do that.
Was that me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's stupid. Let's go with Drinko de Mayo.
Yeah.
So Drinko de Mayo is coming up, and it'll be the 5th annual Drinko de Mayo.
Mm-hmm.
Now heading into the 5th year of the podcast. Wait, is it 5th or will it be the 6th time we've done it?
Oh, God.
It'll be the 6th time we've done it, I think. I think Drinko de Mayo 5 happened last year. Anyway, this is why the anniversaries get weird, because it's like, oh, speaking of which, 5th anniversary of the podcast coming up, episode 260. Actually, I think it'll be technically 261 would be the anniversary episode. But yeah, that's coming up. We got a really celebratory spring. I'm really looking forward to it.
Many things. Yes. We're going to be coming up on the weeks that lead up to Drinko de Mayo, though,
yes.
where we're just like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yes.
I don't want to.
It all sounds great now. And then we're like, well, we're 35. Do we want to drink shots of alcohol all day? And the answer is no. I don't want to do that.
Perhaps we could get birthday boy Roberto Arizon to do the officiating for that one.
Yeah, maybe we could. Yes. Because again, he is we're not racist in saying that just that somehow the May the 5th is everyone's birthday who's from Mexico. It's actually his birthday. So, and no
just
better way.
Just a funny coincidence.
No better way to celebrate your friend's birthday than getting blackout drunk on the internet and then going home and trying not to die from alcohol poisoning. So, looking forward to it. But yeah, a lot of holiday stuff coming up. So make sure you stay tuned to the podcast over the next few weeks. 3 weeks.
So it would be the 6th. Drinko de Mayo 5.
Drinko de Mayo 5.
Was the last one we had.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, so that's how it works. We've been doing this podcast for 5 years now. Jesus Christ.
This will be the completion of the 5th year.
Yes. It's like a birthday where it's like you're 5 years old, but you've been around the sun 6 times.
Been around 5 times. Yeah.
We're finishing our 5th time around. So, so a lot of holidays coming up. So make sure you are staying tuned right here. You keep your downloads automatic to your podcatcher of choice and youtube.com/O The Anthem. It's a lot of fun. It's coming. Fun. Super fun.
Like the Baltimore corner?
Oh, yeah. No, that's super fun stuff. Hang on. Wait a second. Hey, go again.
Like the Baltimore corner?
Where you get the straight dope?
Yeah.
I forget how long this thing is. Really got to work on that.
Well, you really got to hit that prior to the Baltimore corner. That's why I was trying to give you a little.
258 episodes. Have that straight by now.
Well, that one's kind of newer.
That's only 100 episodes old. Yeah, sure. Anyway, so I want to spend a significant time on the Baltimore corner this week because it seems like a lot of news is coming out of Baltimore. There's also one thing that I thought about that we didn't talk about in the pre-show meeting. But let's start with the stuff we do know.
Real quick, I would like to. I feel like Jessica Anderson won Twitter today.
Sure.
With her Baltimore tweet. So the top 3 stories on the Baltimore Sun right now, and then it's a picture of Baltimore Mayor Pugh resigns from the University of Maryland Medical System Board after scrutiny over book sales, followed by prosecutors say Baltimore police officers encouraged D'Souza's tax fraud, seeking 1 year in prison for the ex-chief. And Marilyn Mosby made throat-slitting gesture at rival supporter, lawyers for fired Baltimore prosecutor say. So a good week for Baltimore.
Yeah,
keeping in mind for Baltimore. This is all today is the
also
top 3 stories on the Sun.
Something that we kind of brushed over a couple weeks ago: Adnan Syed's trial.
Yeah,
he's gonna not get a retrial, so he's stuck in jail. I have watched part 2 of that, by the way. I think we should wait and watch all 4, and then we'll really get in depth on what they have to say. Because we watched Serial, we listened to Serial. I've listened to most of Undisclosed, and then now we'd see that documentary as well.
Yeah.
So that's also Baltimore news. They've announced that they're going to be taking down 2,500 homes in West Baltimore and East Baltimore. And in some neighborhoods, it would have been easier to list the addresses that they're not going to knock down than the ones that they are going to knock down. And then there's this huge concern because, most of the children who are learning or have learning disabilities in Baltimore most likely are learning disabled because of the lead that they were exposed to. And one of the huge concerns is if we are knocking down these houses, how are we going to protect the children from the lead that gets in released the houses
into the atmosphere?
Yeah. So some concerns about that. But true to form. Mayor Pugh. There's nothing to be worried about here. Don't worry, we're going to take care of it. Just like she took care of all of those books for the University of Maryland. So
the lead story there was Catherine Pugh's. Okay, so backing up a little bit, University of Maryland Medical Center
is
a hospital in the region and is supposed to be nonprofit. It does take a profit because it invests those profits into like building a new building and stuff like that.
Yes. So the hospital is of questionable nonprofit status, but the University of Maryland Foundation essentially is the benefactor of the hospital.
Yeah.
And they're the one. That's who she's on the board of. She's on the board of like the foundation that runs the hospital. So,
and it turns out that a lot of the people who are on this board, a non-paying board job, by the way,
voluntary,
are also getting their money another way. So, apparently, Pew had sold $100,000 worth of profit on her books. This Healthy Helen, I'd never even heard of until just now. 3-time children's book writer, Catherine Pugh, sold $100,000 worth of books to the University of Maryland Medical Center, and is now resigning from the said board because by the way, people are concerned about it.
So, what purpose would they have for buying 20,000 copies of this book? I mean, giving them away, I guess, but
something tells me that they have just like. They probably don't have like a library.
Yeah.
They probably have small little like things of multiple books that sort of sit in every room.
Okay, fair enough.
So perhaps there's 2,000 rooms in the hospital, and each one of them has one of those Healthy Helen books. It's like much like you might read an old issue of like Vanity Fair if it's at your dentist's office or something like that.
What was that? Not Postmates. Do you remember the one that was always at the doctor's office?
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It's a magazine.
Yeah.
Damn it. But it was always like 9 years old. It was never the new one, even though they still made it. Nonetheless. And of course, at University of Maryland, I'm sure like every third resident, they have to toss the book because the person had like scarlet fever.
Yeah,
and they can't have it. So so a lot of replacements, I guess.
Or you don't want some kid's murder blood all over your Healthy Helen. You got to replace that one.
But disconcerting that one, Catherine Pugh is only slightly less prolific writer than I am, and two, she's made significantly more money doing it than I will ever make being a writer.
Listen, it's not too hard. All you have to do in this country to make a lot of money is to have a lot of money to start with.
Right.
If you already have a lot of money and you start in a position of power, it's way easier to get more money in power.
Or
i.e. Donald Trump.
Or if your parents have money and power. But we'll get to that in just a little bit. So she's now embroiled in this it's a scandal, but I don't know. She doesn't seem to be treating it like a scandal. So it's weird.
It's so weird. It's like all the people who are involved in Maryland politics and particularly Baltimore politics are so cartoonish, and like their corruption is so outlandish that like little things like I don't even know how to like this. I don't even know how to like make in my mind. I'm just like, so she didn't defraud her taxes and have to resign in disgrace and maybe get influenced by tons of police officers along the way. Like that's a scandal I can like get my hands around. I'm just like, not only did he cheat, but he also was, like this was all coming from other police officers and how to avoid paying things, blah, 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 blah. It's a massive scandal. Like Pew essentially like took a relationship that she had to benefit herself financially. But that's something that I think everyone does. But the fact that literally everyone on the board found some sort of way to get rich off of it doesn't make it seem like...
Yeah, I think...
It's not like they were saying like after the board meeting, they were just like, well, we need to buy a whole bunch of children's books. I wonder if anybody have a lead on a good children's book author? And then Pew was just like, I just so happen to own...
I have a children's book.
I've written 3 of these Healthy Helen. And it's just like, what the fuck is a Healthy Helen? And then she shows them and they're like, I mean, they're books.
Sure.
So why not just buy them from Kathy?
Bar low. The bar's very low. But yeah, no, it makes sense.
It's not the same level of scandal as like we were talking about the Writers Guild and the ATA last week.
Yes, yeah.
Where it's just like, it's not like the University of Maryland was going to go on some extensive search looking for the best children's books to fill their. Right. They were gonna find a book that was acceptable, that was good for children, essentially, and anything that came along the way, they were gonna pay extra for Harry Potter. They were just gonna get the middle of the road book, and if Catherine Pugh is willing to go like, hey, I got this book. You want to buy a bunch? I wouldn't. I mean, like, technically speaking, unless this is a bribe, which is
it is
the worst delivery of a bribe.
It's the best. We are going to fight about it. It's the best delivery of a bribe that you could possibly do. You get something in return. Like, you're buying a product. Yes, you don't need it, but you're buying a product and you're delivering a bribe to a person. It's an amazing way to do a bribe. If anybody would like to bribe me, all my books are available on Amazon. Go find them right now. I'm just saying. Let me know.
Pay an extra surcharge to get
let me know that that's what, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, that's what we're doing. Because, by the way...
So Amazon's taking 40% of the cut on your bribe?
Well, so her publisher, and here's the thing. So her publisher got a cut of this bribe, essentially. And
if it's a bribe, that's a lot.
If it's a bribe, they got a cut of the money. And my point, though, is that I have donated books to libraries before, and it's not really a donation. What they do is they buy it from your publisher, and you essentially tell the publisher, I would like to give it to them at cost, which is what it costs you to make it plus your profit, and just don't include my portion of that. So it's going to end up being, like 30 or 40% of the original cost.
Yeah.
Now, it is very clear in this controversy that Catherine Pugh did not do that, despite the fact that she could have. She said, no. I want you to pay MSRP on this book, and then she pocketed all the money.
Yeah.
Which is why it looks like a bribe, and why it probably is a bribe for, I don't know, some favorable outcomes. Maybe they want something in the neighborhood.
Here's the thing. Listen, I've said this before. Nobody wants Pugh to fall more than me. I would be really happy if Pugh fell over this. But I just, for me, personally, it's like when you used to watch the Orioles and the Yankees when Jeter was on there and stuff like that. When Jeter got out with a lazy fly ball, it felt I was personally offended. It was just you couldn't strike him out. I want the strikeout. I want the embarrassing thing to happen. I want him to fail in front of me. I don't want the light left field pop up, Al
Capone must have broken thousands of laws. How did they get him?
Tax evasion.
Tax evasion.
Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta take what you can get.
When he was at the movies.
Yes, but sometimes you gotta take what you can get.
Listen, I'm fine if this ends up costing Pugh her career. I'm okay with it. It couldn't happen to a nicer person. Yeah. The problem here is that I just don't have that much of an interest in this whole thing.
But she's banking on that because she's treating it like it's not a scandal. And the renewed Baltimore Beat, by the way.
But she literally doesn't treat anything like a scandal.
That's also true, yeah. But the renewed Baltimore Beat, which, by the way, if you have...
It's just the Trump... Pugh's version of Trump's antics is Trump goes... I didn't do this Russian collusion stuff, and you definitely do not want to talk to Roger Stone about that. He knows nothing.
Yes.
And all the reporters look at that tweet, and they're just all right, so let's get Roger Stone on the horn.
Let's go talk to Roger Stone. I feel like he's going to have something to say.
Right, Catherine Pugh, it's just did you find out that you put a nuclear device underneath the Inner Harbor? That's nothing. I didn't do that. Who even said anything about it? Moving on. It's just okay, that's the problem. We should investigate.
Yeah. But what was his name? Oh, the Baltimore Beat, the renewed Baltimore Beat, which I don't know if you've noticed. They were out of circulation for a while, but they're back.
Yep.
And thank God, because...
And the only people doing independent news in the city.
The Baltimore Sun was not going to do shit about an investigation on this, but they are holding feet to the fire, so good for them. And let's hope that this does break into something. But she's doing a really good job. And all of those fine folks at the Baltimore Sun who are like, Mayor, hard-hitting question. What about this book scandal? And she's like, oh, there's no scandal. I sold some books. And they're like, thank you, Mayor. And then they walk away. And they go, all right, so I guess that's what we're going to do. Well, now we have the Baltimore Beat, and they're going to break down doors and whatnot.
I feel like Baltimore... And this isn't a slight on the Democratic Party. This would be the exact same thing if it was a Republican city somewhere else. But the fact that 90% of the city is Democratic and nobody wants to look like they're taking down one of their own kind of thing. Nobody wants to be oh, Stephanie Rawlings Biggs really fucking things up. We should get rid of her. It's just no. She's doing a great job. Everyone's just getting on her case for nothing and blah, blah, blah. This is part of the problem when you have no, again, I feel like there should just be a city elected agitator. Somebody It's like the vice president, essentially. Yes. He can vote on like tied legislation, and more than anything, he gets a microphone every Monday. And he just goes down in front of the city hall. Catherine Pugh, that bitch, selling movies. Like, it would make things so much easier. It would just, like, if you realized how comically awful almost all these players are, it's unbelievable. The fact that, what's his face? Michael, the new commissioner. Harrison.
Yes.
Has agreed to come into this is either I don't know. He must have the patience of a saint, or he's just as bad, and we're gonna find out about it later. Like,
no, I honestly, the more I read about him, I feel like he is the guy who's like, I want the challenge. Yeah. You're telling me this is a city nobody can fix? I can fix it. Now, flash forward to, I don't know, a year from now when it's Harvey Dent. I mean, basically, he's the white knight coming in, and then a year and a half from now, he's going to be half burned, flipping coins, talking about murdering people in the street. So,
a year and a half from now, driving around in a Baltimore police cruiser, like firing random out the window at people in the corner, like, I am the law.
Anyway,
justice will never reach you.
Oh, God damn it. What was I thinking about before that? Now you got me all distracted. Damn.
I do think we should talk to Harrison about whether or not he'd be willing to do like a shot-for-shot remake of the Joker, like hanging out of the
car. Probably not. That would be my guess. Oh, this is what I was going to say. Listen, Baltimore, I know that you think, hey, there's no hope for us. What are we going to do? Here's my point, though. There is another Democratic city in a red state. And you know who they have for their mayor? An openly gay man who is a Afghan and Iraq war veteran who nearly at every turn seems to find a way to strike the perfect chord. Boom.
Yeah.
And like, oh, there's a shooting there's a shooting halfway across the world. Well, how would that impact my small burb where I am? Well, it does. Of course it does. So even though I'm traveling and I'm at South by Southwest because I'm a goddamn movie star now, I'm going to write a letter. I'm going to write a very emotional letter. I'm going to have it published in the paper so that everyone can see it. And strike just the right tone of being sad, but also embracing and also saying we're going to stand together. And just like, again, my favorite tweet of the week is if someone had brought... Mayor Pete is who I'm talking about from South Bend, Indiana. If they had brought Aaron Sorkin, Mayor Pete, and said, hey, you should really write this guy into the West Wing, he would have been like, that's lazy ass writing, okay? Why would I ever do this? No one will ever be this perfect. No one will ever have a little boy run up to him on the street of another town and be like, Mayor, you're here! For the cameras. How does that happen?
I'm not going to say perfect, but I will say that Mayor Pete is kind of like a common sense bot come to life.
A little bit.
Like,
yes.
Like it's just like if you had like a registry of best common sense feelings of like any subject.
Yeah.
And just like you type it in and then just auto populates and Mayor Pete is just like, does this really need to be an issue? Or everyone's like, you know what? Right. It's right. It doesn't need to be an issue.
You're right. But again, he's probably not going to win. It's sad. The common sense candidate, that's not for us. We're not a country that wants that guy.
I want Joe Biden.
So inevitably we'll pick a different white guy.
I want Joe Biden to run, and then I want right before he's elected as the candidate for a video to come out where he starts saying the N-word in front of all his black friends and saying like, see, it's not a problem. Everyone's okay with it. And then all the Democrats going with like, well, how bad is Joe Biden really? And it's just like, no, you have a choice. You can fix this.
We can still fix it.
Just tell him to move aside. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
So like, no, we've tied our. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do. We've elected Joe Biden. No, you haven't.
That's who we're stuck with. I'm sorry. It's like,
by the way, a real quick note, just because you brought up South by, and it made me think of this. There was a meme going or thing going around this weekend with Ocasio-Cortez getting out of a like Lincoln Navigator or like a Chevy Suburban or something like that. Yeah. Like at South by, and it's just like, oh, cares so much about the Green New Deal and drives around in something that gets 11 miles per gallon and stuff like that. I literally looked at it for a minute. I'm just like, people are so fucking idiots. They don't bomb-proof Priuses, okay?
Yes.
They don't make it so that you can run over a bomb in a Prius. That's a waste of a Prius. The only way you can safely get to some place like this, if you're like a huge figure who might possibly be assassinated, is in these huge chunky SUVs. So
how about
shut the fuck up, please? Because I know this is the same sort of thing I can see with Mayor Pete. Like, he's gonna show up to something in a Suburban.
Yeah,
they're gonna be like, "Oh, Mayor Pete cares so much about the environment. Shows up to the debate in a Suburban rather than the bicycle built for two with his gay husband." So it's like. You can't. Nobody is ever going to be 100% perfect, and we need to like brace ourselves for whenever some sort of stupid shit is going to happen with Mayor Pete. Where it's
also,
like,
I love that he embraces it. He's like, if you would have told me back in 2002 that what books I read, the Harry Potter books I read, and the movies I saw would really have impacted, would it give me an 11-point boost in the polls? I'd read them twice, and I'm like. What's wrong? What is wrong with America? Because you're not going to get elected, but you should. But yes, also, by the way, why don't we analyze that problem and work backward? Why are there people who want to blow up the nice woman from New York who's trying to save the planet? Like, why does she need to be in a bomb-proof truck? Because there are crazy people with guns and bombs who are trying to kill her. Why do we allow that to happen? Why are these people still allowed to walk around?
As soon as your name shows up on a list, like the one of the guy, the Navy Reserve or whatever,
yes,
who had a list of like 17 different media personalities that he was going to assassinate in like this big manifesto,
and like 3,000 rounds of ammunition.
Yeah. Like that's why AFC's got to be in a Suburban now. I don't. Also, touched on it slightly there at the beginning of the show, but Beto's introduction to the viewers was very weak. I don't get how he can be so good at this and be so bad at this at the same time.
Because he's not a Democrat.
You know what he's kind of like? He's kind of like Chris Davis, like in the way that like when he has a really bad day, it feels like it's so much worse. But when he has a really good day, you're just like, nobody will ever be better than this.
I mean, I think he is like Chris Davis, and like I look at him and I say, you are everything that a president should be. But when I watch you actually try to be like a president, you're really fucking horrible at it. Why? Hit the fucking ball, Chris. You have one goddamn job. Hit the ball. I might have got off topic. Yeah. Anyway, so back to Baltimore.
Yes.
Chris Davis is a nice segue back. Another topic from Baltimore is that if you were to ask me one thing that we don't have enough of in Baltimore, you know what I would tell you?
Rats?
Also that. Police. But, I mean, 6 and 1 half dozen of the other. And thankfully, Johns Hopkins is finally addressing the problem of not enough police in East Baltimore and Northwest Baltimore.
Yeah.
By adding their own police force in. And the way that thing got approved, you would think that they had somebody on their board who they were bribing in order to get stuff passed. But nonetheless, they got their police force. And smaller, did you see the map of like where the police can go?
No, I mean, honestly, I've been sort of out on this one.
Yeah, you should be. It's really stupid.
I mean, because there have been colleges that have police forces before.
Yeah.
This is not uncommon, in a place like South Bend. I don't know specifically if Notre Dame does, but I'm saying like in a place like South Bend where it's usually a small town, the university campus security / police is sort of like separated, but like sibling partnership with the local police.
Yes.
So it's sort of like they hired out the additional forces that they need.
Yes. For this small patch of country.
Yeah. And this is that idea is not unusual. I think what's sort of hard for people in Baltimore to get is that like Johns Hopkins is like in a very black area of town. Or very adjacent to a very black area of town, and it feels like a very white school.
Yeah.
And the fact that they are trying so hard to get a police department there makes it seem like there's like, we need to build the wall between Johns Hopkins and the rest of the community.
Yeah.
Which doesn't, and the other part of it being that these police forces are completely unnecessary. Like never do any, like look at college rape statistics and how many times a public safety officer or campus security or police or whatever, however they identify themselves, have looked at information and said, well, this is a good boy and we don't want to ruin his chances of being a bank manager one day. So we're not going to talk about the sexual assault that happened. And the fact that there's this Chinese wall between campus police and real police has always been sort of a problem in that one particular regard, especially.
Well, and keeping in mind, Johns Hopkins has security. The difference between security and the police?
Guns.
That's the only big difference. Oh, by the way, let me ask you a series of questions. And
generally speaking, people in Maryland are okay with the police having guns.
Yes.
The school police having guns. Hogan just came out this weekend when they were voting as to whether or not Baltimore City police or Baltimore City school officers should have guns, and was just like, why are they not? Like, this seems like the one place of any that they should have guns,
or that they shouldn't, because the guns can get taken away and be used by other people.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
Nonetheless,
yeah.
Here, I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and I want to get your truth and honest answers. You ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. True or false? Being dismissed as a Baltimore City police officer makes you ineligible to work for Johns Hopkins Police.
Like, should it or does it?
Does it?
No, you're going to be allowed to be a Hopkins police officer.
100% allowed to be allowed. You can be a Baltimore police officer and a Hopkins police officer at the same time.
I'm sure you can.
You can 100%. Now, explain to me how that works.
Well, so I imagine that it works much the same as other side work that police are allowed to do. So, like, if you ever go to Camden Yards and you see Baltimore police officers there, they're not being paid by the Baltimore Police Department. They're being paid by the Stadium Authority, or the Orioles, I guess, specifically. And, like, they're basically getting their normal rate plus 20% to be at the game.
And it's a show of force. It's a false show of force, which is why you can tell them to fuck off. Nothing will happen.
I mean, you could do that any old time, but I mean,
I do. I don't know if you know me. I do that all the time.
But yeah, I don't know.
I mean, basically, what's going to happen is they're going to work their shift at Hopkins, where they're going to be on time and attentive, and then they're going to show up for work the next day, get in their car, drive somewhere isolated, sleep most of the day in their Baltimore City police car, return that, go home to sleep some more, clock some overtime that wasn't actually done, and then go back into Hopkins and go get another good shift. So,
I mean, the only problem, so like the sucker way of doing it, of getting extra money from the Baltimore Police Department, is the getting a shift at the stadium or doing one of these police force gigs, because they can see how much you work.
Yeah. And
there is a rule where if you're a Baltimore City police officer, you can only work so much extra side
time.
work.
Yeah.
Before they start like deducting it out of your check or your pension or something like that. Where, if you work at like a liquor store and you just stay there all day.
A security jacket.
Yeah, you wear a security jacket, you drink a beer.
Yeah.
And, the owner is giving you whatever under the table, then they'll never know. Yep. So that's the way to make money as a police officer if you wanted to do that.
But they won't have to go that way, because they'll be able to go to Johns Hopkins and have their guns on campus. And over/under 1 year on the first shooting by a Johns Hopkins police officer.
Oh, God.
Not from now, from the time in which the police force is actually brought into bear.
I mean, generally speaking, I just want to say over, just because it's not.
That's friendly.
I know, but I can't be that optimistic, I guess. So
I'll take the safe money and say far under. I'll say over under 3 months might finally be making an interesting bet.
See, I think the other side of this is the slow march towards this that has happened.
Maybe.
And it sort of desensitized us to the details and stuff like that. It's the type of thing that starts with, come on, Hopkins needs its own independent police force. This campus security shit isn't working. Mm-hmm. So it's like, all right, fine, they can have their own police force. It's like, they should have guns too. It's like, all right, well, I guess it doesn't make sense for them to be police and not have guns. So, yes, they can have guns. It's like, they should also build a wall. It's just like, what's the purpose of the wall? It's just like, oh, we have all this green space. We need to make sure that nobody like comes in and, all right, fine, they can have a fucking wall. We also need guard towers at the side where we can shoot at people from the outside. So it's like, why would you need to fucking shoot at people from the outside? They might try to invade.
Yeah.
God, this is all making so much sense. I don't know why I'm saying yes all the
time. Also, we're going to need to patrol the area outside of the campus to keep people from the wall so that they don't cross the fence.
We're going to have Hopkins drones.
Yes.
Going around the area, making sure that people keep a perimeter from what's going on.
Well, the good news is, for those people at Hopkins now, there is a little better chance that the person sitting next to them in the classroom actually deserves to be there now. Isn't that lovely? So, if you've been paying any attention at all this week,
I don't think Hopkins was dragged into that.
I don't think so either.
And I would be more inclined. I'm sorry, go on.
No, go ahead. You'd be more inclined to do what?
I'd be more inclined to think that of any of these, there's a secondary level or like higher level of education that will not kowtow as much. So like Johns Hopkins, Oxford, Cambridge, like that type of level of institution, maybe Harvard. I mean, though Harvard's been bought out a lot. So
Harvard 100%. Yeah. Yale as well.
Yeah.
By the way, got into Yale. Could not afford it. There was no way I was going to afford it. It was like $63,000 a semester.
Yeah.
Not a year, a semester. And I just know that there's somebody who took my spot at Yale who was a dumbass. And mom and dad bought their way into Yale. And then they sat there and dumbassed their way through with their 2.0 and graduated with a degree from Yale. So isn't that nice? Things are nice and even. Anyway, Lori Loughlin, who you might know as Aunt Becky, and Felicity Huffman, who is apparently a desperate housewife of some variety.
She was on Sports Night.
Also on Sports Night, yes.
That's how I knew Felicity Huffman from. And from being married to William H. Macy.
Also the wife of William H. Macy, which, by the way, I wonder if he's involved, or do you think...
I was listening to a podcast where they were talking about how he wasn't charged and that, like... maybe he was the one who snitched and like got this all out there or something.
Are they getting divorced?
I don't know. It's just,
no. So did you
hear?
It's
like a funny it'd be hard to believe that he wouldn't be charged as well.
Well, and I think they are separated. And it might be the kind of thing where, like, he was completely detached from that part.
Yeah,
and
like I'll take care of the college stuff.
Yeah, they couldn't put him in there at all. But no, that is not how they found out. Take a guess at how they found out about this college admission scam.
How?
There was another white guy who was getting arrested for some white collar crime and said, "Oh, hey, I'd really like to make this 20-year sentence a 1-year sentence. What would I have to do?" And they'd say, "Well, we'd need, I don't know, 20 or 30 felony convictions." And he said, "Oh boy, do I have a conspiracy for you. Let me tell you about this thing I'm aware of." And basically ratted on everybody to get no time for himself. So if you're going to get into a conspiracy, don't do it with a white dude, especially a rich white dude, because those guys talk real easy.
They will spill.
Yeah. I do like the meme going around was just like Tekashi 6ix9ine sitting at the council table, and they're like, "All right, we're down to 3 to 5. We're down to 3 to 5. You got anything else?" He's like, "All right, y'all remember Aunt Becky?" So apparently Lori Loughlin and Felicity Huffman got wrapped up in this. But what happened was that this started far away from them.
I would be very happy for all the other multimillionaire CEOs, head of industries types that are involved in the same thing and not having their name mentioned because it's all Lori Loughlin and all Felicity Huffman all the time.
Yeah.
It's like when the Panama Papers came out, it's just like, one name is on the Panama Papers. Moving on.
Yeah. Nothing to see here. Let's go talk about something else.
Wait a minute. Tim Cook's in the Panama Papers? That's interesting. Let's move on to something else.
Yep. So generally speaking, what this scam was, if you haven't been following along, is that people were paying for access. Now, that access took many forms. Some people were... Apparently, there was a crew team at one of these schools that got 40 scholarships for a crew team.
It's a lot.
It's... maybe 8 guys in the boat. 8 guys in a boat at any one time, plus the guy calling.
Well, so in the good old days, say I'm the son of a wealthy-to-do multimillionaire, and my father wants to get me into college.
Let's just say,
we're just it's not quite multi. Let's just let's just say that my dad wanted me to get into Johns Hopkins. And the way you would used to do that was build up a relationship with Johns Hopkins over many years.
Yes.
Start going to their fundraisers, start doing anything they say. And then at some point, offer to buy them something big. Like
library.
You need a new library.
Yep.
Or you need a new athletic center or a new swimming pool or something like that. Yeah. And offer to foot the bill for most of this thing or all of this thing if you can afford it. And then when it comes time for your son to get into the institution.
That's a misnomer, though, because sometimes they didn't often pay for all of it. You just pay for enough of it that it's your name. But you get a bunch of your friends to go in with you on the thing. So it's like, listen, I know it costs $10 million. I'm kicking in 4, and I got $6 million from like 19 of my best friends.
And those 19 people get the same preferential treatment that you get.
Sure, yeah.
Like when their kids go to the school.
It just doesn't have the William Baker.
But then when Baker shows up on the application, they're just like, oh, like the Baker Library, like
the building, the Baker admissions building that we're sitting in right now.
I mean,
little too on the nose, Baker. Right?
He has a D in every single class he's ever taken ever, but approved.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
I mean. But the other thing is, dude, like people were getting like college athletic scholarships for sports that like they just put like one picture of them Photoshop playing volleyball on the internet, and then just like.
Do you know why they were doing that though?
Oh yeah, so that somebody could Google it and see.
No. Yeah. So it used to be that you could just bribe your way in. You build a library and let you in. But now it's very competitive as far as what is the average SAT score of the person entering your college? What is the average grade, the GPA, high school GPA people? Yeah. So they're like, we can't be letting these dumbasses in because they're bringing our GPA down, or they're bringing our average down. But you know who doesn't count for those? Athletic scholarship holders.
Yeah.
They don't count towards your GPA average because, listen, they may have not qualified otherwise, but wink, wink, nod, nod, we're going to let them in to our athletics program.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well not have a basketball program if you're somewhere in like Duke. And you're not going to let people who do not fit the and I'm not saying every member of the Duke basketball team is dumb, but you know.
I mean,
Duke's the type of school where you had to have like a 1400 SAT to even like think about applying to.
Yes.
And so, I'm not saying that Zion Williamson is breaking 1,400 on his SAT.
I mean, he might be.
He might be. I just don't think it's incredibly likely.
Doesn't seem the type. But yeah, so what they do is they hide it. And like I said, there was a crew team that had 40 members on it. And essentially what they did is they had 12 or 15 spots that were these. It's for people who were getting in the side door as a crew person. And they didn't have to go to practice. They didn't have to do anything. This is just how they got into the school. Chess scholarships, because there's NCAA chess of all things. And basically they took the money that these parents were giving.
There's like a lot of like water polos and other like things like that have no money value to a university except for hiding scholarships.
Just letting money. Yeah. But what they would do is they would let this bribe money, which is what it is, come in and establish these scholarships with the bribe money. And a lot of times it wasn't even a scholarship. It was, we want to expand our crew team. So technically we have facilities for 40 now. And we can have 40 crew members come in. Isn't that great?
Well, there's other things too. So like the ones that I think Felicity Huffman got tied into specifically was about like having specialty things happening for the SATs.
Right.
So rather than making the connection with the university directly, your daughter could take the SATs and then somebody else could go through and double check her answers and correct it enough to get her up to the admission standard.
Yeah, that's the other side of it, that if you can't cheat them in the side door, you have to establish that they are, despite not really being that smart enough to get in.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I imagine that most of it they can do so. So, like, when I took the SATs the first time, I took it at a specialty place because they were only doing people with learning disabilities SATs. And when you have a learning disability, you get like an extra 20% time to work on the test. So the first time I took it, it was outside of high school. It was like it was in Calvert Hall. And there was a whole bunch of other people.
Yeah.
But I imagine that if you wanted to bribe the person who was administering the test, I could just do this in the normal amount of time, and then somebody in the back room could spend the last 20% correcting my shit.
Or, hey, I know what Lori Laughlin's daughter looks like.
Maybe that's why I got a 1590.
I know what Lori Lofton's daughter looks like, but this girl who shows up with her name and her ID is not that person.
Yeah.
That's okay. We're going to let you take the test. And that was another thing is they would have people take the test for you. They would have these tutors that were essentially tutoring down so that you would get like, hey, someone's going to need to be sitting next to you during the test. We got to get you to a 74 IQ in order for that to be the case.
Yeah.
So let's tutor you down to that level. And then we can get your help, so somebody's sitting there with you.
Right.
But the taking the test for the person, apparently there was an entire scheme where one sitting of the SATs was all people who were taking it in place of other people, and there was an entirely different place where all those people they fooled their children. They said, "Hey, you need to go to Calvert Hall to take it."
Yeah.
What's the place across the street from that? There's like the two schools across the street from each other.
Loyola, I guess.
Loyola, yeah. So go to Calvert Hall and take the test, and all the kids showed up at Calvert Hall, and then the real test was at Loyola, and all the fake kids showed up at Loyola to go take it.
Yeah.
So it was like, we don't want the kids to know that we are cheating them because they're dumb, but they're not that dumb. So I just need them to get up from a 1200 to a 1600.
So here's the problems with this story. Number one, I don't really feel bad for the parents.
Nope.
Because I feel like if I was in impossible wealth and I had the ability to make things easier for my kid to get into college or a better college, I would want to do that too. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't want to do anything illegal.
Yeah.
But
especially not go to jail.
But as far as I know, like from my perspective, if I just had millions of dollars right now and a kid that was trying to go to college,
yeah.
I would try and buy off a school by getting a building and sort of shit too. Like that just makes sense to me.
How about this? If you have millions of dollars,
and I wouldn't imagine that was illegal.
That's the thing.
So many people have been talking about this story. Like, what did they do that was illegal, other than like the I'm paying somebody $5,000 to take the test for my kid?
Yes,
but I'm saying like the ones that were sort of tied away from that. People were wondering what the illegality of the situation actually was, and it's hard to necessarily thumb down to what that moment is.
Well, and I think the best commentary, though, was that even when the illegality was clear, the people who were doing it were just like, this is not illegal. Like, yes, it is. Yeah. Like, no, I'm rich. It's not illegal. This is what we do.
Yeah.
But let me offer a counterpoint. If you have millions of dollars and a child who, one day might want to go to college, maybe you sit, because you don't have to work because you have millions of dollars, sit down and read to the kid when they're 2 years old and sit down and work with them. Because you know what? I got into Yale and I didn't need millions of dollars to do it.
This is the thing. I feel like if I had a kid in this situation, they're a junior in high school or something like that, right? I have my position is I would take stock of where I'm at. So if this kid seems like he's on the cusp of Harvard, I'm going to do what I can to try and get him over that cusp. If he's at the cusp of NC State, then I'm not going to like really like. Yeah. I don't want to try and bridge that gap. I want to just bridge a small little,
and
he could get into Penn, maybe he could get into Harvard, but
that kid is already working at a disadvantage with those genes. So I'm just saying that maybe we should cheat him a little more. You're probably right. Yes. Now my nephew, I don't know if you know this, is ahead of Einstein, and he's surpassed all the tests.
There's a lot of kids who passed Einstein early. Let's see how they keep up.
A lot of
as soon as they start talking,
a lot of good genes, that are just going to waste right here. Anyway, but yeah, so I get it. And if I had money, would I do it? Probably not, because I feel like that sends exactly the wrong message. Which, by the way, Olivia Jade, who is Lori Lofton's daughter, goes on YouTube and says, I don't even care. I don't like college. I didn't even want to go to college.
Well,
they made me go to college.
I mean, like, if it's like my kid is good enough to get into Harvard or just barely there, and I could do a little something to get him over, just a little bump, that's fine. I feel like, I don't know, like, I don't see the problem with that. But if you're like spending $250,000 to get your daughter into college, and she doesn't even give a shit about it, and it's just all about you being able to go to your parties and go like, my daughter's in USC right now.
Yeah,
it's just like, oh my god, she got into USC, she got into Stanford, she must be so smart, you must be so proud. I'm like, yes, of course I'm so proud of my, like, this is the
P.S. The daughter who was in USC apparently like never went to class and just stayed in her dorm room recording YouTube videos. Like,
she could have done this at home.
What are you doing, Lori? You should know. And you're about to go to jail for this shit. Like, oh my God. I mean, she's not going to go to jail. She's a rich white woman.
The problem is me. Like, even if I'm like middle class by that time, I have a kid. I imagine I'm just going to be looking at him like, do you really need to go to college? No, I mean, give it to me straight. If you want to be a lawyer, then you need to go to college to be able to do that. If you want to be a doctor, yes. But I mean, like, if you don't really know what you want to do yet, maybe you just hang out here for a little bit, think about it.
What's it called? A
yob?
Branch year or bridge year or
gap year?
Gap year. Yeah. That's what it is. Gap year. Yes.
Well, not even necessarily a gap year, but just like
or 3.
Get a job. Like.
Yeah. Oh, hey.
Because I mean, like, if I would have thought about film when I was in high school,
yeah,
I think that's part of the problem too. Like, there was like this aspect of it where it was like, I might as well say I want to be an astronaut. Like, it seems like only a certain number of people even have the possibility of doing something like that.
Well, I like to write. Yeah, there's no money in that. You're going to college. Okay. Okay, cool. Sure.
I could have skipped the whole college thing and just moved right on to like. I would have probably been better off. If we do an alternate timeline theory where like just whatever money was going to be spent on me at Hofstra went to letting me live my life in LA and try and get going in the film industry.
Yeah.
Like it probably would have worked out a lot better for me.
I mean, maybe
by this point,
the same film school class, but a decade earlier.
Yeah.
Just to give you the basics and then let you go to work, stay here and go to work. Like,
or I could have gone to a school that had like, USC and done that too. Like that would have been
film program. Yeah. Yeah, instead of wasting your time in the political science department.
Well, because I had to take so many classes I didn't give a shit about too. That's a problem.
English.
I ain't
going to use that.
Me fail English. That's impossible.
Impossible. So we do have about 5 minutes left.
Yes.
I just want to touch on kind of the big story of the week, which is the Christchurch attack that happened in New Zealand earlier this week. It's so hard because I feel like it was Friday. It was Thursday here. It was because Australia is in the Pacific Islands are in front of us by a day. So like when it's afternoon here, it's morning there, and it happened in the morning, maybe on Saturday. So it was Friday. Yeah,
it's hard for I can't quite remember. Here's the other thing too. Number one, first of all, I feel horrible for everybody who is touched by this in any sort of way, whether it's dead relatives or boyfriends or girlfriends or anything like that. This type of attack has no place in this world, and it's sad that it happens so often. It's also sad that this guy's manifesto is like so easily available for people to like pick through.
Yeah.
Which kind of makes me the idea that white supremacists are getting bigger and more dangerous is because they have access to see things like this.
Yeah. By the way, it also makes me want to kind of
because I mean it's just like the people who when McVeigh started plotting the Oklahoma City bombing, so much of it was based off of being able to read every single thing that happened at Waco in a report.
Was at Waco.
Like so he knew everything that was going on and was able to just like get himself worked into this lather about the government.
Listen, leftist writers. What we need to do is to start putting out some fake manifestos that are just like when they read them, they circle back and they're just like, hug everybody. That's not a bad idea. I need a hug. I mean, I hate everybody but the whites, but that doesn't mean I can't hug them, right? Making a lot of sense here, buddy.
Cut to it's just like, he hugged me and he didn't have permission.
Just can't
win them all.
Can't win them all. But yes, it's a tragedy that this is so open and available. But I think the thing to take from it most, and what I said to you before we started today, is if you asked yourself, what is the way that an American politician reacts to any kind of mass shooting or any kind of mass tragedy whatsoever, especially when it involves guns? And then you picture in your mind...
we're a year out of the one in Florida, Sandy Hook. Not Sandy Hook. I'm sorry. That was in Connecticut. What was the
one with David Hogue and by the way, whose little sister is verified on Twitter, and verification means nothing to me on Twitter now. Thank you. But yeah, the high school shooting,
Lakeland.
Yeah. But again, if you picture in your mind, how would an American president respond to any kind of mass shooting, or really any tragedy involving guns, and then just mentally flip that and say, what's the opposite? that is what the New Zealand Prime Minister has done, essentially.
Yeah.
Saying, she's wearing a hijab when she is speaking to the Muslim community, and she's like, I'm not, just so it's clear, I'm not pandering to them at all. I'm saying, these are the rules by which you live your life. I'm coming into your home.
Yeah.
I'm going to live by your rules, why I'm under your roof. When I go to worship with you, I'm going to follow your dictates, despite the fact that it's not my religion. And, oh, by the way, this is our largest loss of life. It's our biggest tragedy in history. So we're going to respond. And what we can connect to this is big tragedy, semi-automatic weapons. Okay, we're going to ban the semi-automatic weapons. Seems like a fix to me. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that part. But I do agree with she's doing stuff.
Yeah, let's do something.
She's addressing it and meeting with the community and basically calling Nazis, calling fascists, and saying white nationalism is a problem and it is the thing which is causing this violence. That'd be fresh. That'd be a fresh new perspective here in America. So
here's my problem. And this is way more of a problem about me and my ability to handle these things than it is about anyone who is involved in either trying to clean it up or make changes further on and stuff like that. I think it really started with the Vegas shooter, where it seemed like there was so much information out there about what could possibly be happening. And it seemed like there was so much information, and because we had so much of it, we couldn't drill it down at all.
Yeah.
And the stories were changing every single day about what his motive was or why he did it or what his home was like or how did he get through security with all these cameras and all these guns and blah, 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 blah. And it became a thing where you couldn't follow it while it was happening because you didn't know what piece of information you were getting that was real and what was not.
Yeah.
And what would later be proven and stuff like that. So I feel ever since Vegas, I've had more of I want to not know everything that's happening right when it happens.
Right. Yeah.
I'd rather just sort of be able to
have it come out and digest it a little bit.
Understand what it is that's happening and be able to put it in context of other people and how, this one specifically was, designed for hurting the Muslim community.
Yeah.
So understanding that that's part of the conversation with this and, knowing that he was live streaming part of this. He had a manifesto online. He's making references to PewDiePie and Donald Trump and all these sort of things. All piece of information that I feel I should know, but I'm not going to get into how this exactly happened yet because nobody fucking knows. And it takes a while to be able to put together the whole thing. And I feel I don't really get the information that I need about a story that happens until 6 months later when I read the long lead story,
right?
Whatever happened and how things built from one to the other, and that's what I really need. It's boring and stupid, but I feel I need more long lead journalism.
Well, the problem is
where something like this will happen and somebody will spend multiple months researching it.
And approximately 1/10 of the time through that finished story, the American people have moved on to their next thing.
Yeah, I know. That's always the problem. But
listen, if you can't put it in a BuzzFeed quiz, then I don't care. I need
what friends character is this shooting?
There you go. That's something I can relate to. Yeah. I can definitely relate to that. Friends just makes me want to shoot myself. Generally speaking. But, it's just final thoughts. Tragedies like these happen, and it's all about how we respond. I just applaud the way that the people of New Zealand have responded.
Yeah.
Because I think that we are so entrenched. And by the way, New Zealand is not that much different from the United States. There are
crazy
right
wing,
conservative and liberal. And what we found and kind of what we talked about a lot over the last couple of years is the entrenchment and how we can't give at all. If this happened in America, there would be people on the right saying, yeah, I understand people died, but don't blame the guns. It's not the guns' fault. And we just can't give at all. And we're not seeing that in New Zealand.
The other thing that I feel this is always going to be the problem is that we've so decided our teams in whatever regard it is, whether it's religion or politics or, societal order or however you want to describe it. But as soon as you met your first gay person, gay, lesbian, whatever, the whole spectrum, the first time you met somebody like that and you were just like, oh, you're a normal person just like me, only you happen to like men and I happen to like women. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, oh, I get how these little tiny differences between our lives are interesting and unique because you happen to have this one perspective and I have a different one. But now that I know that you exist, I can be embracing of you, you know, like, and it's like the number of people back in Baltimore County who I know talking about how the blacks are causing all the trouble down in the city and don't have one single real African American friend. Like,
yes,
and the number of people I know who are saying that, you know, Muslims and everything like this are the fall of the entire globe and everything like that. Like, yeah, there are, without a doubt, like Islamic extremist terrorists out there who are trying to cause trouble. Yes. There's also radical Christian people who are doing the same thing and have been doing it way more frequently recently than any Muslim has been.
Yeah, by the way.
And it's just, understand that, like, as soon as you meet somebody like this, it instantly changes your ability to understand their position and their strife. So try and live an open life where you meet new people and learn new experiences. And I'm not saying you have to be gay just because you meet a gay friend.
Yeah.
But you will learn like that there's this whole other experience out there that you could be, you know, you could go to the gay bar with gay friends and you don't have to do anything. It's not like you're in a bathhouse. Yeah, it's just a bar.
It's a bar where you can have beers.
Yeah.
I will say though that yesterday my wanting to be the antithesis of the celebratory day, I was going down the road of Irish independence, if you will, and looking things up. And one thing that didn't occur to me that I kind of rediscovered yesterday, the Good Friday Accords were in 1998.
Yeah.
That means in 1997, while we were in middle school, Catholics and Protestants were murdering each other in Ireland.
Yeah.
And like the idea that we shifted so quickly from like Muslim extremists and how this is like not something that good God-fearing white people would do to each other. No, bitch, we were doing it literally 3 years ago. 3 years ago, this was us.
Yeah.
Now it's like, and we're gonna forget about it that quick because a bunch of the last few, not the last few, but many of the last few finally got released last year.
Yeah,
because it was like 10 years and then 20 years.
Well, no, just in regards to that, we got the whole Brexit thing going on.
Brexit.
And what the fuck is going to happen with Ireland? Northern Ireland there. There's
see.
A whole fucking powder keg ready to explode.
Yep.
And I don't mean to use that term lightly, but
no, it's
pretty much exactly what it is.
Honestly, so Britain has apparently asked to extend the deadline for Brexit, and it has nothing to do with anything except for the border with Northern Ireland. Yeah. That is 100% what they are worried about.
Yeah.
Because the number one thing in the Good Friday Accord says there cannot be a hard border on the border between Northern Ireland and Ireland.
Yeah.
That's it. So the EU would require a hard border, and I don't think that the IRA is going to care that it's the EU instituting the border and not the British.
Right.
So, you know.
Well, they're going to the Irish are going to take this as the EU is doing this because Britain has forced them to do it.
Yes.
Like, that's
why are you dummies leaving the
why are you
EU?
doing this shit to us?
Yep. And by the way, like I said, basically, other than like 7 people, I think, everybody got out last year. So everybody's out and raring to go. Yeah. And now's the time that Brexit means the Good Friday Accords get broken by Britain. So, yay. That'll be exciting.
I can't wait to see what Theresa May is going to do about this.
That's a visual gag that you're only going to get if you check out Facebook.com/O The Anthem and YouTube.com/O The Anthem.
Anyway, if you want to see more awkward visual-only jokes, you know where you can go.
Where's that?
OTheAnthem.com. Core to OTheAnthem.com. O The Anthem on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the listener line, 443-219-7595.
What's that number again?
443-219-7595. And you can find more of me at my website, CoreyBakerFilmmaker.com, Facebook.com/CoreyBakerFilm, and at LegendCB5 on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. I had just released the Captain Marvel review this past Thursday. Saw it, enjoyed it. You should see it too. Also, I'm working on my own little part of the podcast, like releasing the movie reviews in like an audio only format. It's not out yet, but it will be out shortly, and I hope you all enjoy that as well, because it's just a little 10-15 minute long review, easy to digest on your way to Whatever your next appointment is.
Spoiler alert much? Can you... I didn't know what you were going to say about it, and now I know. Now I have no reason. I enjoyed it, and go see it.
Is that too much? Is that
too much? Spoiled. I'm waiting for the rating at the end. I need to know only when we get to the rating at the end. What's the final result?
Do you want to know what it is?
That's okay. We'll watch it. It's fine.
7.8.
Don't spoil it. Let people go watch it. He doesn't know how to cross. Look at this. He's got all kinds of different stuff all across the web, and he doesn't even know how to stop spoiling his own videos. So anyway, you can find more of me at Robert N. Cheek on all your social networks.
The multiple.
And, of course, you can find more of me at robertncheek.com, where you can find links to my political blog, the news website, and the books which are available on Amazon.
Buy those books.
There's going to be a new book eventually. I don't know. I'll be done writing the next one before I actually get the last one
Before you find the time to go to Creative District and find a font.
Fucking font, man. I keep forgetting, and then, I remember, and it's 1:30 in the morning. I'm like, tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. It's fine. But I'm 20,000 words into the new book. So, hey, that's exciting, right? It's very complicated, too.
All right. Well, I think we've done good here today.
Oh, we've done something. I don't know if it's good. But as always, you're listening to the O The Anthem podcast, part of the O The Anthem digital network. For Corey, this is Rob. Have a great week, everybody.
I had sushi right here today.
The 69th floor.
Oh, I got my finger.
Wait. Let's see if the 69th floor of the Wilshire Grand.
Yeah, right about there.
Tallest building in west of the Mississippi.
Yeah.
Come to LA. Come see it. It's gorgeous.
Blammo.
Rude.